Most people lose one job and completely fall apart. I actually lost three jobs in 1 year while raising two young kids on my own as a single dad. And I'm sitting here telling you that I am the calmest I have ever been in my entire career. So, my name is Tony, and I'm a B2B marketing consultant with over 10 years of experience in the field. And I generate over $10 million in pipeline on my own. But in this video, I'm just going to break down exactly what saved me through all the layoffs because I promise you, it was not luck. I'm going to be talking about three jobs, three lessons, and one system that kept my family stable throughout the whole thing. So let's get into it. The first layoff I actually saw coming. I was at a company called ITI for over 3 years doing demand generation and product marketing. My job was basically to get more customers into our in-person training classrooms for crane rigging courses. And I did really well there, like picking up bonuses and promotions along the way. Then our company got bought up by a company called Interplay Learning. And they had their own skill trades training platform and wanted to add ours to their catalog. So both companies were doing very similar thing on paper. So the deal just made sense for them to merge. But here's what I noticed the moment after the buyout. Like we only had 5 people on our marketing team, and they already had maybe somewhere between 10 to 15 people on theirs. So I just knew that most of us was not going to last long at all. And I was right. But I think within 6 months after the merger, almost my entire team got laid off, including me. Everyone got put into a meeting where the president announced that people were being let go. Later that same day, the email landed in my inbox and that was it, right? 3 years done just like that at my old company. And here's the reason why I did not spiral when it happened. I've already updated my resume because I kind of read the writing on the wall early. My finances were already in solid shape. And so I already had enough money saved up to give myself like a real runway if things go sideways. When you see something coming and you prepare for it ahead of time, the moment it actually happens, it just feels less like a crisis and more like a new chapter is ending, and I'm ending it on my own terms in a way. So when that peace of mind locked in, here's what I actually did in my first month of freedom. I actually bought the Nintendo Switch 2 and I played video games every single day pretty much, like Donkey Kong Bonanza and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, like it was my full-time job. And now I know what you might be thinking because I thought it too. I have two young kids depending on me, and I probably should be jumping straight into a job search the very next morning. But the honest truth is that I've been working hard every single day since my separation, and I generally felt like I needed to decompress before I could show up like the best version of myself for my next move. The finances were covered, the kids were stable, and I gave myself real permission to just rest before I get back to work. And after that 1 month, I was completely ready to move forward, and that is exactly what I did next. Within a short time after leaving ITI, I landed my next opportunity, and this came in a completely different way than most people find work. It was not from a job board, it was not from sending out 100 different applications and just hoping like someone would call me back. An old friend reached out and connected with me with a startup called Immerse. So it's a VR language learning company, and they brought me in as a marketing contractor. This is something I want you to pay attention because it matters more than most people realize. The job came through my network, not through algorithm, not through the job board. That is a lesson I will come back later in the video. So at Immerse, my job was essentially the same thing I've been doing before. I was getting the right people to notice the company existed and build out the outreach system. So I worked there for 6 months, and by every measure I could see, I was doing solid work. Then they let me go because the funding did not come through. When startups do not get enough money from their investors or from their seed rounds, the first thing they cut is usually the most expensive contractor on the team, and I was definitely very expensive. And it was not personal, and it was not about producing for them. Here's something I do every single time I lose a job, and I want you to steal this habit immediately. On my last week, I had my meeting with my boss, and I just asked him point blank directly about my performance. Not because I was fishing for compliments, but because I do generally care about getting better at my craft. And I asked him whether the decision was performance related or if there was any feedback he could give me that I could actually use going forward. And he basically told me two things. First, the job loss had nothing to do with my performance. It had everything to do with the funding situation. Second, he gave me a real piece of feedback, which was that sometimes I need to give more context when I explain things because I can move fast sometimes and leave people behind without realizing it. That kind of honest feedback is just rare, and I'm very grateful for it. So I thank him for the opportunity. I thank him for his time, and then I asked him for a LinkedIn recommendation before I left. If you go to my LinkedIn profile right now, you're going to see a ton of recommendations stacked up from Immerse, from Interplay, from ITI, from basically every company I've been working with. because that's how you protect your credibility and reputation no matter how the job ends. You leave with your head up high and you ask for recommendation while the relationship is still warm. And you take the feedback with you as a tool instead of letting it sit as like a wound or something. I had zero hard feelings walking away from Immerse, and within the week, I actually had another job opportunity. The third job came within a week of losing my last job, and this one ended fastest of all the three. So Terran is a company using AI robots to build walls made out of dirt and clay. So it's a material called Adobe. And honestly, like that technology is really, really cool when I went to go visit on site. My role was the same where I had to find people who would be interested in what Terran was building and get them to have conversation with the team. They also brought on a new salesperson at the time, and the two of us like were working together as a unit, with me driving the outreach and him booking the appointment and running the meetings with the decision makers. Here's the part of this story that still gets me when I think about it. Like within 2 to 3 weeks, me and the salesperson, we were booking meetings exactly with the right people, like the decision makers. We were not just getting responses, we were getting real conversation recorded on video with people who were like genuinely interested in what we were building. By every measure standard, so like we were absolutely crushing it in terms of performance and results. The problem had nothing to do with our performance, and everything had to do with the fact that the product was just simply not ready to sell yet. The product was not ready. Like the AI technology was still a work in progress, the product was not finalized, and the company was nowhere near ready to go to market. And I will be honest with you, that part did frustrate me a little. Not in a bitter way, but just in a logical way. If your product's not ready to sell, why are you hiring a contractor and a salesperson to go out and book meetings with buyers right now? That is a strategic decision that had nothing to do with me and the salesperson we're doing, because what we were doing was working. Within a month, they pulled the plug on both of us. And once again, I sat down and asked the same questions I always ask. Was this performance issue, or is there any feedback I can take with me? And my boss, he told me directly, like, this has nothing to do with getting real results, and the decision came down to the funding and timing, and not anything to do with anything I have done or not done. There was no critical feedback because I was generally doing really good work. That conversation actually gave me something unexpected, which was a real boost of confidence in my own abilities. 3 jobs in 1 year, and not a single one of them ended because of my performance. Every single time the results were there, every single time the feedback confirmed, I knew what I was doing at my job. And working inside these startups, even for short stretches, did something else for me that I did not fully expect. It actually reignited my passion for marketing in a very deep way. Doing hands-on work, building systems from scratch, going out there getting real results for a company, that reminded me why I exactly like doing this type of work in the first place. And it also reminded me that I do not need someone else to do it. All right, that fire that got lit in my belly is exactly what's pointing me towards what comes next. And I will get into that in a few minutes. Now, here's the part of the story that I actually want you to take with you, because this is the reason why I just never spiraled through any of it. There were 3 things that kept me completely stable while losing 3 jobs in 1 year as a single dad with 2 young kids, and none of them happened by accident. So the first one, of course, is that I went into startups on purpose. Like, I did not take these jobs because I was desperate or because they were the only thing available to me. I took them deliberately because I wanted to learn how business are built from the ground up. I already had run my own consulting company before this, and I wanted to just go inside early stages of startups and see exactly how they operated. How did they do well? What did they get completely wrong? And how decision got made when the resources are tight and the pressure was real. I walked into every single one of those jobs knowing full well that startups are volatile and that I could lose a job at any moment. That was not a surprise to me when it happened, right? It was a calculated trade I made on purpose. Now, number 2, of course, is the finances. I built it like a fortress. I followed Dave Ramsey principles very closely for a very long time, and the result was that I have 6 to 12 months of emergency fund. I invest consistently into a VTSAX through Vanguard, and I keep the whole system as simple as possible using automatic transfer, so like the money just moves without me having to think about it every single month. Now, I want you to understand, what that financial cushion actually cost me to build, because it did not happen by accident. I have 2 kids. I pay for rent. I pay for bills. I have regular expenses that come with running a household on a single income. But I do not spend money on things that do not matter. Like we at home almost every single night. I cook the food myself. We do not go to places that drain the account. I live well below what I could technically spend. And that discipline is the direct reason I was able to sit through 3 job losses without having a single panicked or emotional decisions. When you have 6 to 12 months of runway sitting in your account, losing a job just starts feeling like a cliff and just starts feeling more like a detour. Number three, I had bounced back from harder things than this. So during COVID, I was without steady income for almost 2 years. That was generally one of the hardest stretch of my life financially, and I was able to come through it. Since then, I have built more skills, made more money, grown my network considerably, and gained a level of clarity about what I want and how to get there that I just simply did not have before. So when I lost these 3 jobs within a year, I was not starting from zero again. I was starting from a much stronger position than I have ever been before, with more resources and more tools than I have ever had. And here's the part that got me through mostly all of it. My kids, who are 9 and 6 now, never panicked on me. When I told them I lost my job, I was completely straight with them. I told them that I lost my job, that I was going to find something better, that there would always be food on the table, and that they had absolutely nothing to worry about. And they believed in me immediately. Not because I told them a comforting story, but because they have watched me do it before. They know my habits. They know my values. They know that their dad figured things out. And having kids cheering me on through all of this just made every single hard moment feel completely manageable. So here's where I am right now. And I'm going to be completely honest with you about all of it. When I lost the Terran job, I actually did the same thing when I lost the job at ITI. I just gave myself a month to compress. I've been playing video games like Pragmata, Resident Evil, Clear Obscure, and no apologies for that either. Because I have learned that when I come back, I'm much more sharper. I'm letting myself rest and stuff, force myself into like motion that just feels productive. That month is done now, and I'm already fully back at it, creating content, doing my marketing consulting business. And I have done this before. I have built a consulting business from scratch once already, so I know what actually works, what it looks like, and I know what it takes to make it real. Working inside those 2 startups over the past year just reminded me exactly how good I am at this craft and just reignited my fire that I honestly want to not work at other companies no more, essentially. I'm done working for other people. Not because I am bitter about any of the companies I work for, because actually I'm very grateful for the opportunity they gave me for each of those companies. It's just that I don't want to be capped by my salary no more. I don't want to work for someone else anymore. I just let me try my own thing for a few months and let me see how it goes. So the plan is very, very simple actually. I'm committing myself fully to building my own consulting business over the next 3 to 6 months. And that just means doing consistent outreach, creating content constantly, talking to people, building relationship, putting myself out there, networking, finding the right customers. And it's going to be tough, right? Business is absolutely tough, which is why I'm going to be fully focused on it. And, none of that is going to be easy, and I'm not going to pretend it is, but it is work I know that I can do, and I know I'm good at it. And something else that I think might play against me, I don't know, is that I don't have a burning sense of urgency or panic that's driving me right now. And some people might look at that as a problem. I might even see that because maybe I should feel more pressure to get this moving faster. Or maybe that having an emergency fund is making me slow down or something, right? It's something I think about every now and then, but honestly, I should still be going gung ho on my ideas and my goals and not having that pressure on me. So I'm taking my time. I'm learning the market. I'm building something I actually want to own for a very long time. And I'm not in a rush. So 3 jobs in 1 year as a single dad raising 2 kids on my own. And I just want to leave you with the honest truth about all of it. None of it is actually very easy and none of it actually broke me either. And the reason it did not break me had nothing to do with luck or with some special advantage that most people do not have access to. It just came down to making a set of boring, quiet, unglamorous decisions over a long period of time before any of this started. Building the emergency fund before I needed it, learning the skills before the market demanded it, building the network before I had to lean on it, bouncing back from COVID before the year even happened. If you're going through a job loss right now, or you're stuck at a job you hate, or you're trying to find the courage to make a move, I just want you to hear this clearly. Like the calm does not come from having everything figured out. The calm comes from knowing you have done the work to give yourself options and then trusting yourself enough to use them. I have done it before and I am doing it again. And my 9 and 6 year old kids are right there cheering me on the whole way. And that is the whole story. So thank you so much for watching all the way through with me. It does mean a lot to me. If this video connected with you in any way and you want to follow along my personal life, hit the subscribe button and come along for the ride. I'm going to keep sharing everything, the wins, the slow days, the lessons, all of it. So cheers. Appreciate it.